I still remember the exact moment my world cracked in half. It wasn't when my father died. It wasn't when I stood beside his casket, trying not to fall apart. It was when the family lawyer quietly leaned toward me after the funeral and whispered, "There's something about your father's will that doesn't make sense." 5 words. That's all it took. Because 3 days later, I discovered my own brother had secretly changed our dying father's will, just 72 hours before Dad took his last breath. Everyone called me the greedy son for questioning it. Everyone believed him. But they had no idea my father had left behind one tiny clue that would destroy every lie and expose the one person nobody ever suspected. My name is Daniel, and growing up, I learned one lesson before I was old enough to drive. In my family, I would always come second. My younger brother Ryan was the favorite. If Ryan forgot to do his homework, Mom blamed the teacher. If Ryan crashed Dad's truck, Dad blamed the weather. If I got straight A's, they asked why I didn't get extra credit. If I worked overtime to help pay bills, they reminded me Ryan needed time to find himself. You know how some families hide favoritism? Mine celebrated it. Every birthday, Ryan got the expensive gifts. I got practical socks. Every Christmas, Ryan opened new electronics while I got a handshake and a reminder that you're mature enough to understand. By the time I was 16, I had stopped expecting fairness. I started mowing lawns, repairing computers, and working weekends. Ryan spent those weekends sleeping until noon. Mom would laugh. He's just creative. Creative. That's what they call unemployment. Dad wasn't completely blind. Whenever Mom wasn't around, he'd quietly slip me $50 and say, "Keep building your future." Those moments meant everything. But he never stood up to Mom. Never. And that silence shaped our family more than anyone realized. When I finished college, I got a job as an engineer. Nothing glamorous. Just steady work. I rented a small apartment, drove a used pickup, and saved every extra dollar. Ryan? He bounced from one failed business idea to another. Coffee shop. Crypto. Online courses. Luxury watches. Every time he failed, Mom and Dad bailed him out. Over 10 years, they gave him well over $300,000. I never asked for a penny. Then Dad got sick. It started with fatigue. Within months, it became stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Everything changed overnight. Ryan suddenly became too busy to visit. Mom stayed with Dad during the day, but she was exhausted. So I rearranged my work schedule. Every evening after work, I'd drive 45 minutes to the hospital. I'd help Dad eat. I'd read him baseball articles. Sometimes we'd just sit in silence. One night he grabbed my wrist. "Daniel." "Yeah, Dad?" "I know I haven't always been fair." I smiled. "It's okay." He shook his head. "No." His voice cracked. "It isn't." For the first time in my life, I saw regret in his eyes. "I let your mother make too many decisions." I didn't answer. Because deep down, I'd always know. Between what he tuned it really up there, this would see any confidence is a proud chap paid ya. "I've been thinking about the future." He slowly explained how he wanted everything divided. The house would be split equally. His investment accounts divided equally. His antique woodworking tools would come to me because I'd actually used them with him. Ryan would receive Dad's vintage Mustang. "I want both of you treated equally." Those were his exact words. I even joked, "You finally decided to be fair?" He laughed so hard, the nurse came running. That was the last real laugh we ever shared. 3 days before he died, I couldn't visit because I was attending a mandatory work conference. I called twice. Dad sounded weak but peaceful. Ryan suddenly started spending all day at the hospital. Mom kept telling everyone, "See, Ryan really stepped up." I was honestly happy. I thought maybe losing Dad had finally changed him. I couldn't have been more wrong. Dad passed away early Sunday morning. The funeral was held 4 days later. Hundreds of people came. Dad had spent 40 years running a local furniture business. Everyone respected him. After the service, relatives gathered in the reception hall. People hugged, shared memories, cried. Then Ryan stood on a chair holding a glass. I just want everyone to know Dad trusted me to continue his legacy. People applauded. Something about his smile bothered me. It wasn't grief. It looked victorious. The next morning, we met with Dad's attorney. Mr. Henderson had known our family for decades. He opened a folder, cleared his throat, then began reading. Immediately, something felt wrong. The house went entirely to Ryan. Business? Ryan? Investment accounts? Ryan. Savings? Ryan. Dad's classic Mustang? Also Ryan. I inherited Dad's old toolbox. Nothing else. For a full minute, I honestly thought it was a joke. Mom smiled proudly. Ryan looked down, pretending to be emotional. Mr. Henderson looked uncomfortable. Finally, I asked, there has to be another page. There isn't. I stared. My father told me himself he wanted everything split equally. Ryan sighed dramatically. Dad changed his mind. When? 3 days before he died. The room went silent. Mom crossed her arms. He realized who truly cared about him. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I visited every single day for months. Ryan shrugged. You missed the last few days. Because of work. The work that allowed me to help pay Dad's medical bills. The work Dad himself encouraged. My aunt frowned. Daniel never stopped helping. Mom snapped. Apparently, it wasn't enough. Those words hurt more than losing the inheritance. Mr. Henderson avoided eye contact. Something felt off. After everyone left, he quietly caught up with me in the parking lot. Daniel. Yes. He lowered his voice. I shouldn't be saying this. My heart started racing. But your father never contacted me directly about changing his will. What? The revised document was brought to my office by your brother. I froze. Ryan said your father was too weak to travel. Is that unusual? He hesitated. Very. Dad had always insisted on discussing legal matters personally. Always. Mr. Henderson continued. The signature appears authentic. But something doesn't sit right with me. That sentence refused to leave my mind. I drove straight to Dad's house. Mom wouldn't let me inside. You already got what Dad wanted you to have. I just want to look through his office. No. Ryan walked onto the porch. Stop embarrassing yourself. I looked him directly in the eyes. Did you really change Dad's will? He laughed. Careful. Why? Slander gets expensive. Then he slammed the door. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Dad's words. I want both of you treated equally. He had been crystal clear. Either he completely changed his heart in 3 days, or someone changed it for him. I hired a handwriting expert using nearly all my savings. People called me bitter. Relatives stopped answering my calls. Mom told everyone I was trying to steal Ryan's inheritance. Then something unbelievable happened. About 2 weeks later, I received a phone call from a hospice nurse named Linda. I've been trying to reach you. Do I know you? I took care of your father. My pulse quickened. I heard about the argument over the will. Yes. She paused. I think you should know. Your father wasn't conscious for most of those last 3 days. Every hair on my arm stood up. What did you say? He drifted in and out. Could he have reviewed legal documents? In my opinion, no. Could he have signed them? She sighed. If he did, someone would have had to guide him. I nearly dropped the phone. Everything suddenly made sense. Ryan hadn't become a caring son. He'd been waiting for the perfect opportunity. But I still needed proof. Then fate handed me exactly what I needed. Dad's longtime accountant called. I found something in your father's business records. Inside an envelope was a handwritten letter. It wasn't a will. It was addressed simply. If my boys ever fight after I'm gone. My hands shook as I opened it. Dad wrote that he loved us equally. He specifically mentioned wanting the estate divided 50-50 because he regretted favoring Ryan financially for years. At the bottom, he added one heartbreaking sentence. I hope this letter is never needed. I cried harder than I had at his funeral. But legally, a letter wasn't enough. Then the biggest twist of all arrived. The hospital released visitor security logs during a subpoena request. Who signed in during the exact hour the will was supposedly executed? Not a lawyer. Not witnesses. Only Ryan. The supposed witnesses? They had signed later at Ryan's request. Neither had actually watched Dad sign anything. Now we had something. My attorney filed a lawsuit. Ryan laughed publicly. He posted online that I was suing my own dead father. Friends supported him until depositions began. Under oath, witness number 1 admitted, I never saw your father sign. Witness number 2 admitted Ryan handed him papers already signed. Then came Linda, the hospice nurse. She testified Dad was heavily medicated and barely responsive. Finally, the handwriting expert presented enlarged comparisons. The signature wasn't forged. It had been traced slowly over Dad's own earlier signature. A technique called signature transplantation. The courtroom became completely silent. Ryan's confidence disappeared. Mom started crying. Then came the final blow. Hospital hallway security footage showed Ryan practicing Dad's signature on a legal pad while sitting alone outside the room. He thought nobody would ever request the footage. The judge stared at him. Would you like to explain this? Ryan said nothing. Absolutely nothing. Weeks later, the ruling came. The revised will was declared invalid. Dad's previous will, which divided everything equally, was reinstated. Ryan wasn't just disinherited from the extra assets. He was ordered to repay legal costs. The district attorney later opened a criminal investigation into document fraud. News spread through town faster than wildfire. People who had called me greedy suddenly apologized. Relatives who ignored my calls wanted to reconnect. My mother came to my apartment one rainy afternoon. She looked 20 years older. I made a mistake. I quietly waited. I wanted to believe Ryan. She started crying. I failed you. For the first time in my life, she admitted it. But some bridges, once burned, never look the same again. I forgive you, I said softly. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. She nodded because she knew it was true. Ryan tried contacting me dozens of times. I never answered. His reputation collapsed. Friends disappeared. Business partners walked away. No one wanted to trust a man willing to manipulate his dying father. As for Dad's furniture company, I inherited my rightful share. Instead of selling it, I modernized the business. I introduced online sales, expanded custom orders, and hired skilled craftsmen Dad had always respected. Within 3 years, revenue had doubled. We opened a second location, then a third. On opening day of our newest showroom, I placed one item in the entrance. Dad's old woodworking bench. Not because it was valuable, because every scratch reminded me where honest work leads. A local newspaper interviewed me. The reporter asked, "What's the biggest lesson you've learned?" I smiled. You can fool people for a while. You can even rewrite paperwork. But sooner or later, the truth has a way of walking through the front door. Months later, I visited Dad's grave. I placed fresh flowers beside the headstone. "I did it, Dad," I whispered. "The business is growing." I finally stopped trying to earn love from people who never wanted to give it. A gentle breeze moved through the trees. For the first time since losing him, I felt peace. Not because I had won the inheritance, not because Ryan lost everything, but because the truth finally stood where lies had once ruled. People often ask whether I regret taking my own family to court. My answer never changes. I didn't sue my family. I defended my father's final wishes. There's a world of difference between the two. Looking back, I realized the inheritance was never the greatest thing my father left me. It wasn't the business. It wasn't the house. It wasn't the money. It was the proof that integrity outlasts deception. Ryan chased shortcuts. I chose patience. He chased control. I chose hard work. He believed one forged document could erase a lifetime of truth. He was wrong. Because in the end, the fortune was divided exactly as my father intended. The family that once shamed me publicly admitted their mistakes, and I walked away with something no one could ever steal: my name, my dignity, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing I never had to cheat to win.